Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and thank you for coming back and joining me here on Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and the game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and sending out a huge dose of vitamin G to each and every one of you for being here, spending time with my guests and me, and for making Next on the Tee the #1 golf podcast again this month over on Good Pods. And wherever you listen, I can't thank you enough for pressing play and making Next on the Tee a part of your weekly golf content. I've got a very fun episode in store for you this week. A couple of guys who are the best of friends, and like so many of my guests and I, have become close despite never meeting each other in person. Ah, the magic of social media and the internet. I get the privilege of kicking things off with a guy who is one of the all-time great drummers, a guy who spent 30 years playing in Billy Joel's band, and that is Liberty DeVitto. We take a journey through Liberty's life, from the time he pulled out the pots and pans in his mother's kitchen, beating on them, to how he met Billy Joel, what it was like being on stage at Madison Square Garden on New Year's Eve 1999. For those of you old enough to remember what that year was like, remember the whole Y2K thing and how people thought the world's computers would all shut down at the stroke of midnight? Well, Liberty was right there in the center of the universe, if you will, in Madison Square Garden, playing a concert when things could have all come crashing down. Chaos would have ensued absolutely everywhere. It obviously didn't, but you're going to hear what that night was like. You'll also hear the story about the time he got a call from Phil Ramone to come down and play in a session with an artist who Phil didn't want to tell him who it was because he wanted it to be an anonymous thing, but Liberty was supposed to be at a rehearsal dinner that night for a wedding he was supposed to be in the next day. You'll hear that story and who that famous artist was. And then you'll also hear about the time that they played Yankee Stadium, plus the children's book that Liberty wrote titled Love, Santa Claus. From there, our mutual good friend, Matthew Lawrence, joins me. You'll hear about the friendship between Liberty and Matthew and how that all got started. Again, they were never met in person. You'll hear why, at least Matthew's side of the story about why. You'll also want to stay tuned to hear that story, plus we get into more stories around, I had to get stories from Eddie and the Cruisers each and every time that Matthew joins me. I got to get a new one or two of those. You'll hear his take on what's going on right now with the whole heckling Rory thing. We talk about Shinnecock Hills and the upcoming U.S. Open, plus a wonderful thing that Matthew and Brian Austin Green, who played his son in Beverly Hills 90210, something they did for a big fan of the show. Folks, I know you're going to have a great time listening to the stories from these two great guys. Thank you again, as always, for being here and for taking the journey with us. One last thing before we get started. If you would please do me a huge favor, wherever you happen to be listening to the show right now, if you would take just a couple of seconds and subscribing to it. It always goes a long way with the algorithms towards getting Next on the Tee in front of more wonderful golf enthusiasts just like you. Okay, before I get started with today's guest, I want to take a moment to thank a couple of local Pittsburgh area companies that I reached out to and tried when I was reviewing the Best of Pittsburgh awards from last year in 2025. Now, please keep in mind, I reached out to them. They didn't contact me, and these are not paid endorsements. I'm just a fan of their products. I got some samples, and now I'm hooked, which is why I wanted you guys to know all about them. And as I've said on the last few shows, I'm a huge hot sauce fan. I love trying different sauces and finding ones that have the perfect blend between heat and flavor. And a lot of sauces can bring the heat, but they've got no flavor behind it. Now, that is why I've become a huge fan of Artie's hot sauce. Artie's has found that sweet spot. His sauces bring plenty of flavor first and then the right amount of kick behind it. Whether you're putting it on wings, taco, burgers, eggs, pizza, or just about anything else, Artie's hot sauce makes everything that you have taste better. If you're a fellow hot sauce lover, you've got to go give them a try. You can find them out online at artieshotsauce.com. I also want to give a shout out to the Steel City Salt Company. Their handcrafted spice blends and seasonings are out of this world fantastic. I've become a big fan of several of them, including the Steel City Steak Seasoning, Black and Gold Blend, and their Pittsburgh Pepper Blend. I added them when I do things like grill out steak, grill out chicken. I sprinkle them on vegetables to give those an extra kick. I'm also a big pickle fan, so their dill pickle salt is going to knock your socks off. Not to mention their Pittsburgh's Little Italy, which I started to include in my Sunday red sauce recipe and sprinkle on top of pasta to give it an added burst of flavor. Their Black and Gold Blend, Yinzer Dust, and Love Pittsburgh Everything Salt is great on things like fries, eggs, the baked salmon that I make. John and the crew over there are going to grab you by the taste buds, and they're not going to let go. You're going to enjoy the attention that goes into each and every one of their blends. You're going to love it. I promise you. Go out there and check it out online for yourself. SteelCitySalt.com. You know I also have a huge dose of vitamin G for everybody over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and TribLive.com. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the TribLive app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. All right, now back in Next on the Tee with me is legendary drummer Liberty DeVitto. You probably know him from being the drummer in Billy Joel's band for 3 decades. He's also been a session drummer and played on records that have sold over 150 million copies worldwide. You can see him now performing with a couple of different bands, the Lords of 52nd Street and the Slim Kings. But let me also give you a little bit more of his background. He's from Brooklyn, New York. His father was a New York police officer. Liberty taught himself how to play the drums. In 2013, he was inducted into the Classic Drummers Hall of Fame. A year later, he was inducted into the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. He's written his memoirs, which is titled Liberty, Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness, which you can get out on Amazon, or you can listen to him tell the story by downloading it on Audible. And I couldn't be more thrilled I get to spend some more time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Liberty, thanks for coming back on the show.
Oh, that's great, man. I remember last time it was a lot of fun. So let's have fun.
Indeed. So, Liberty, I want to start by going back to where it all started for you. In your book, you talk about your passion for the drums really starting at the age of 1.5 years old, beating on pots and pans in the kitchen. Tell that story, and was that kind of where it all began for you?
Well, I always liked music, and beating on pots and pans was a thing. And as a matter of fact, later on when I asked my dad why he bought me drums, because I didn't ask for drums, but he bought me a set of drums. The guy down the block was selling drums, and he bought the drums for me. And I said, why did you buy me drums? And he said, because they didn't make Prozac when you were a kid. So I guess I was pretty, crazy when I was young. Yeah. But when the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan Show, that's when it was like, okay, this looks really cool. That's what I want to do. I want to tour the world with my friends and make music.
All right, so let's take that a step further. Tell our audience who Gene Krupa is and the impact that both he and Ringo Starr had on you.
Well, Gene Krupa was the first drummer that my mother loved music. My father, he didn't like music that much, but he liked to dance and stuff like that. But my mom loved music. She used to cut school to go see Gene Krupa play. She cut school to see Frank Sinatra sing. So she really loved it. And she was the first one to introduce me to Gene Krupa. It wasn't until years later that I heard of this other guy, Buddy Rich. So Gene Krupa was my first love. And, that song, Sing, 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 that he did, the drum solo, I thought it was tremendous.
You say that you never wanted to kind of learn how to play paradiddle. You wanted to be, like you mentioned a moment ago, like Ringo. Talk about really not learning how to read music and how you were able to teach yourself how to play.
Well, I had records became my books, and I would listen to records. And back in the day when I was learning, in order to try to figure out a part or what the drummer was doing, you had to put your hand on the turntable to slow the record down. Today, they have these things called the great slow downer. You can take a song and actually slow it down, but it stays in the same key as the song. They have all these tips on YouTube and stuff like that. But back then, you had to slow the record down. You put your thumb on the turntable and slow it down and try to hear what the drummer's doing. So that became my books. So I would listen, and then I would play to like Beatle records, and I would listen to what Ringo was doing and try to copy Ringo, but I would get lost in the song, and I would then learn the lyrics so I would know where I was in the song. So as I'm playing though, and I'm singing along with the song, I'm realizing, hey, the drummer, he stops playing so much, or he does a drum fill when they go into another part of the song, like the bridge or a chorus, to make it more exciting. He doesn't play fills and solo stuff over the singer. He lets the singer sing. So I was actually learning music while I was learning the drums.
Liberty, I saw Ringo get interviewed here recently, and he said that he used to hate to practice, and it was Paul, who was actually the workaholic in the band, and he would call Ringo and John up and say, all right, let's go, mates. We got to get in here and start practicing. Did you enjoy, or do you enjoy the practice part, or are you ready to get on to the show?
I'm ready to get on to the show. You know, when I was playing with Billy, we would make a record and then go on the road. In the time after we came home and the tour was over, there was a little bit of a gap between when we were ready to make the next album. And I would not play the drums at all during that gap. I would just felt like I was more creative if I didn't play the drums and just had to come up with something to fill into the song that Billy was doing.
Speaking of Paul McCartney, you got a call one day to do a session with a guy that Phil Ramone wouldn't disclose to you who it was.
Right.
You kind of forced the issue, and it turns out it was Paul McCartney. Talk about what that day was like for you.
Oh, that was unbelievable when I got the call. And they said, you have to be in the studio. You got to come in at this time on this date. And I had to be a best man or something, bride in a bridal party. And it was the same day they were having the big dinner and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I can't do it. And the phone call kept saying, you have to do it. You've got to call it. You got to cancel the party. And I was like, who's it? Who is it? And it was like, Phil doesn't want you to know who it is. They won't tell you. They can't tell you. I said, come on, you got to tell me. So they told me. They finally said, it's Paul McCartney. And I said, oh, my God, I'm going to call you back in 5 minutes. And I went to my mother. You know, I always went to my mother when I had these questions, like, what should I do? And I said, Mom, it's the same day as the bridal party dinner and all this kind of stuff. They want me in the studio. And, you know, I don't know what to do. And my mother said, well, who is it for in the studio? And I said, it's Paul McCartney. And my mother looked at me and like the way the Italians say it, like, frig the bridal party.
You guys actually flipped roles at one point, right? He sat down and played drums, and you showed him that you knew how to play guitar as well.
That's right. He played drums. After we had a break between the two songs that we did, we had pizza and we talked about children and all kinds of stuff like that. And it was really good. Then when we went back in, he sat behind the drums and started playing. And then the other guys in the band came in, and as he's playing, he's looking at me like, "Hey, I'm cool, and I can play drums." So finally, after about 10 minutes, he gets up off the drums, he starts walking towards me, and there's an acoustic guitar leaning on the wall next to me. And I picked it up and I just looked at him and I went, "Oh, yeah." And I played Blackbird. And he went, "Oh, my God, you can play that?"
Since you never took drum lessons or really got into reading music, how did you learn about how to keep time and making sense of each piece of the drum kit and how it was going to fit into a song and fill into the song? How did you learn how to do all of those sorts of things and make a song come together?
Well, the thing about filling in to a song is like you never want to step on the artist or the song itself. So you learn where to play and where not to play. Sometimes less is more. With the song "Just the Way You Are," I play a very simple beat. It's been called the most complicated simple beat ever recorded because it's very simple, but a lot of guys have a hard time doing it because it's constant and they want to do other things in it. But you can't. The song is the most important thing when you're recording. So I had to learn where to fit into Billy's stuff, and I found a nice place to put my stuff. It just worked out. And it worked out too because he's so classically trained, and I am a street guy because I didn't know how to read. I had to teach myself and everything like that. So the combination really made some great music.
To take that a step further, Liberty, how'd you come up with your own style? And since you were listening and learning from other people, how did you create your style and not end up sounding like somebody else since you weren't classically trained?
Well, I would hear a great lick that a drummer would be doing. And like I said, there was no videos that you could watch or anything like that. And so I would try to play that lick that I just heard on a record. And of course, I was doing it wrong, but it became my way of doing it. So it became my style, like the way I did things rather than the way, like, say, Nigel Olsson in Elton John's band. I would do a lot of copying of him, but I would play it totally different. So it would sound different.
Liberty, one of the many things I love about you as a drummer is the level of energy and enthusiasm that you bring with you out on stage. And you talk about that right at the beginning of the book when you say, "When I play, I give all of my energy. My entire being goes into it. I go into a drummer's high. I feel like I become part of the drum. And I love how much you get into it. Your arms are going every which way. You bang the drums, and it is by no means a subtle playing of the drums." Talk about being one with the drum kit and the enthusiasm you bring when you get out on stage.
Well, it's the passion. It's the passion. You got to have passion to survive in this business of music. It's any business. You have to have passion. Even the job that you do, you have to have passion because there's somebody else that wants to do it too. So you have the passion. I always say to kids, the hardest thing to teach you is how to feel the drums, how to feel the music. How, they talk about playing in front of the beat or playing behind the beat and all that kind of stuff. I tell them, I say, the simplest things are sometimes the best. If you listen to AC/DC and you listen to Phil Rudd play, you say to yourself, why does that make me feel so good? But it's so simple. It's how he's doing it. That's the key. You have to figure out how you put your body and soul into it. And that's where the passion comes from. And that's what people see is the passion and how much you love doing it.
So let's take that a step further. I mean, you talk about sinking yourself into it, but where does that passion come from? Where did it come from in your upbringing? I mean, we're both paisans. So, I mean, it's sort of in the DNA. But for you, where did that originate from?
Well, I remember I was like laying in bed and waking up on Sunday mornings and my mother making the sauce, and she had a radio over the refrigerator, and she always had the Italian hour on. And I didn't know a word that these guys were saying, but I could feel the passion in whatever they were saying and how they were saying it. And there was that passion came through to me, like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, like, I have to translate this on the drum set to people so they see the passion and how much I love doing what I'm doing, and I make it look easy for them. And then there was a whole bunch of girls that I liked, and
Always comes back to that.
always.
And we'll be right back. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have, fast is a necessity, and speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. You guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. But like I say, I enjoy watching you play drums because, again, you're not a subtle drummer. Your arms are going, you're banging on the drums. It's really kind of flowing from your heart out through your fingertips and into that drum kit. That is something that I don't see in a lot of other drummers. Talk about that part of your style.
Well, I started out like hitting. You play in clubs and your arms go up a certain amount, and then you play in theaters and your arms can go up higher, and then you're playing arenas and your arms can go really high, and then you're playing in stadiums outdoors and your arms can go really high. Look, the people, I always say it like this guy is taking his girlfriend or wife to a Billy Joel concert. He'll probably take her to dinner first, and then he's got to come to the show. He's got to pay for parking. He bought the tickets already. He comes in the arena. She sees a T-shirt she wants. He buys that. By the time they get to their seat, she wants a snack. By the time they get to their seat, he's like $200, $350 into a show. He better see something that's going to blow him away. Or else he could have stayed home and got a bottle of wine and stayed home with his wife and listened to the record.
Yes. When I watched the Millennium concert that you guys did on New Year's Eve 1999, and from the first downbeat of Big Shot, and I'm watching you, my eyes are on you, not on Billy, because again, when that downbeat comes, I know you're off and running.
Yeah.
From there on out, it just doesn't stop for you. I mean, it's just from an energy and a stamina perspective. How do you stay in such great shape that you are going at it just as hard from the first downbeat all the way to the end?
Well, like I say, it used to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now it's 4 Advils, a Snickers bar, and icy hot. Yeah, well, the guys in the Lords, when we do songs, they'll like Richie wrote me last week when we played, and he said, "Is it okay if we start with Miami?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's do it."
Speaking of that Millennium concert, I mean, it was, like I say, New Year's Eve 1999. We were all sort of semi in the throes of Y2K and what might happen when it struck midnight. Were you at all concerned? I mean, there you are in the middle of Madison Square Garden. You looking around a little bit to see, like, is the world really going to end here in a little bit?
Well, it was funny because the thought was we're in the center of the world right now in Madison Square Garden in New York City. This is it right here, and I thought it was fake. People were saying that everything was going to go down and everything was going to be the end of the world. It's like, no, it's not. We're just going to play. And if it's the end of the world, then what a great way to go.
You mentioned playing in stadiums a moment ago. You guys played live at Yankee Stadium, and that was released as a film and back in movie theaters a couple of years ago. It now can be streamed out on Prime Video. But as a New York kid, what was it like for you to sit behind the drums and play at Yankee Stadium?
It was mind-blowing to look out and see the stadium and walk around and in the dugouts and all that kind of stuff, to see all that stuff. It was crazy. That wall with Babe Ruth on it, and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, all those greats that were there, and it's funny because there's most musicians want to be baseball players, and most baseball players want to be musicians.
Right.
Yeah, I played with a bunch of them. I played with Paul O'Neill, plays drums a little bit. We did double drums once. Bernie Williams plays guitar, fantastic. And he's played with the Lords sometimes, So it's a lot of fun.
Liberty, one of my all-time favorite songs is a remake of You Keep Me Hanging On by Vanilla Fudge. You met those guys very early on in your career. Talk about the club where you met them and Billy.
I played in the house band. I was in the New Rock Workshop. Billy was in a band called the Hassles, and we were the house bands at this club called the My House in Plainview, Long Island. And I would see Billy, we'd pass in the night and we'd say hi and stuff like that. And I loved this group called Traffic, and Steve Winwood was in it. And one night, one of my favorite songs was Colored Rain that Traffic did. And one night the Hassles did it and Billy sang it. And I thought, oh my God, somebody else knows that song besides me, and I was totally blown away at the way he did it. So that's when I first thought, oh, this guy's good, And so when I auditioned for the band, Doug Stegmeyer said that he's got a drummer that Billy should use. And he told Billy, he says, the guy, and it was from the My House that we knew each other. At the My House, the New Rock Workshop opened up for the Vanilla Fudge. I went to see them the night before at the Action House, which was in Long Beach. And I stood there and watched Carmine play, and it scared me. He was so powerful. I could not believe that somebody could be as powerful as Carmine was. And then the next night I met him, and then had a great time when I was 18 years old, jamming with Vince Martell, who was the guitar player. And that's how I got the gig with the Detroit Wheels, and eventually went on the road with Mitch Ryder. And then when I dropped the name to Billy, then I played with Mitch Ryder. He was like, "You played with Mitch Ryder?" And I said, "Yeah." And that really clinched the gig.
Also in your book, you talk about how sometimes you get so immersed in recording songs that when you hear it back, it was like you were listening to another drummer playing on that song. Why does it seem to you like, why do you not, I guess, recognize you?
Well, it's because you're the guy playing first, right? You're the guy playing those drums. You come inside, and now you're the guy critiquing the guy that was playing the drums. So it's kind of weird. It's like an out-of-body experience. Like, oh, but that was me. But now I'm critiquing me and I can hear me. And it's great because in the studio is the only time that you hear yourself. I never see me play live. I've never seen it except on a video. I've never stood in front of the stage or in front row or whatever and watched me play. Never saw it. I just have to go by what people say.
So speaking of out-of-body experiences, talk about the difference between being Liberty DeVitto and being Billy Joel's drummer.
Oh, it's a big difference. And I always wonder how many women like me because I was Billy Joel's drummer, not Liberty DeVitto.
You guys have performed in some amazing places. Like you guys went over to Russia, you've played in Cuba. What was it like for you guys performing in countries that A, may not have understood a word you guys or what Billy was singing, and B, may not have always had the most positive impression of Americans?
Yeah, well, Cuba was really intense because this was just an exchange. So 150 musicians went over to Cuba to play. And for every American band, there was a Cuban band that played next. So we were in the Karl Marx Theater in Havana, Cuba.
Wow.
And we all had to go because they didn't want any one of us to stay at the hotel. Everybody had to travel together. And it was funny because Weather Report went on first. And they used a smoke machine. And these people had never seen a smoke machine before. When the smoke started to come over the front of the stage, they ran to the back of the theater. It was unbelievable. They got frightened. And we were the last band to play because we were the most popular ones there. It was when 52nd Street was just out. And so meeting the people, it was like going to Russia was the same way, meeting the people. It changes your whole idea of the countries and the politics and all that stuff. People are people everywhere. That's what moved me the most, was to see these people and think, you go to the Soviet Union, you think you're going to get off the plane and meet these three-headed dragons breathing fire. And it was nothing like that. Our government makes them seem like they're like that, which maybe they are now, but they weren't when we went,
Yeah. And I read that when you guys were headed over to Russia, they told you to bring some things because the diet over there is different. And you brought some peanut butter, and your tour guide tried it and spit it out. What was that about?
Yes, it was a woman named Elena. And she came into the room one day, and she picked up the jar, and she says, "Oh, what is this?" And I said, "It's peanut butter." And she says, "Oh, this is what Americans love." And I said, "Yeah, you want to try it?" And she took a little bit. I said, "Use your fingers. Just take it out on your fingers." And she put it in her mouth, and she couldn't stand it. She said, "Oh, this is disgusting." It was really funny because we do the same thing when we went to Australia and tried Vegemite. Oh my God, that was disgusting.
So give us a glimpse, Liberty, into what it's like in the songwriting process. When you were creating all those songs with Billy, how did you take his melody and his lyrics and then feel the beat and decide where you wanted to put your parts in?
Well, the rest of the band would get charts, write out charts, because they could all read music. And they would write out charts with where they're going to go with the bass notes and the guitar chords or whatever. They're following Billy and stuff like that. I would always ask Billy for his lyrics because I wanted to know what the song is about, because that's how I will play emotionally. I always say, like, if you're going to play a song like I Love You So Much, I feel you in my heart all the time, it's going to be nice. It's going to be brushes, a little cross stick. It's going to be nice. If you're going to do a song that says, I hate your guts so much, I'm going to drive my father's car through your house, it's going to be double bass drum and China cymbals all over. So I like to approach it by knowing what the song is about. I think it's very important.
When you guys were in the studio recording the Stranger album, I read that you guys hated Just the Way You Are, and you thought Scenes from an Italian Restaurant was too long. Did you guys ever say anything to Billy about either of those things?
Oh, we all had a discussion. Just the Way You Are almost didn't make it on the album because it was like it sounded loungy. We're a rock band, you know. Billy used to jump on the piano, do flips off the piano, stuff like that. And this was Just the Way You Are, like schmaltzy little blah. So it wasn't until Phoebe Snow and Linda Ronstadt came in the studio, and we played them Just the Way You Are. And after the song was over, they said, if you guys put that on the album, you'll get more women than you know what to do with. Bam! It went right on the album.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a say in how songs sounded and came out? Could you guys give Billy feedback and say, you know, I don't like it this way. Maybe we should try it that way. Was he open to feedback from the band?
Oh, when he wrote All in the Good Die Young, it was a reggae song.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Come up, Virginia, don't let me wait. You know, and I told him, I said, hey, look, this is terrible. I mean, the closest you've been to Jamaica was where the train stops in Jamaica, Long Island, on the way out to Hicksville. You know, so I remember I loved this thing on a Jimi Hendrix album where it's on the Axis Bulldozer album. It's a song called Up from the Skies. And it starts with this great fill. And I said, Billy, let's do it this way. And Mitch Mitchell plays it with brushes. And there's a quick swing like All in the Good Die Young is. And so it turns out that's the way he said, yeah, okay, let's do it this way. It's great.
That is great.
That has happened a lot in the studio.
Yeah?
Yeah, when he would tell us to do it a certain way, we would say, why don't we try this way? You know? Yeah, it was Phil Ramone once did a lecture at a college, and somebody asked, what made Billy Joel the phenomenon that he became? And Phil said, he wrote great songs, and his band came up with great arrangements.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. In the documentary Hired Gun, you said if Billy is the father of those songs, I'm at least the uncle. What do you mean by that?
I meant that I had contributed enough to those songs to be the uncle of those songs if he's the father. I took those songs by the same hand, and walked them to success. I mean, in the beginning of my book, you see what he says about me and Doug Stegmeyer. We made his classical training into rock and roll songs,
Yes. You don't really address much about the falling out and coming back together that you and Billy had. I mean, it's great that he came along and wrote the foreword to it. I think that was, correct me if I'm wrong, but a nice thing, a nice gesture, a nice healing piece for the two of you. Talk about, we can read about how things didn't work out and the bad feelings there were once upon a time. Talk about the healing and coming back together.
The healing, when I wrote him and I said I was disappointed in the way we ended, and he wrote me back immediately and said, I was too. And I said, the Lords are coming to Florida. Why don't we get together and have a meal? And it turned out that we met for breakfast in this diner. We were the only two people in it. And we started to talk about, people that we knew and had passed away, the ones that worked for us, who's sick, who's doing well. We talked about our children because we both have children the same age. My older daughters are the same age as Alexa, and I have a little 9-year-old who fits right in between his two younger daughters. So we talked about all that. It was like two friends standing on a bridge and all the water from the past is going underneath it. It was like that. And I remember as we were parting, I walked him out to his motorcycle. It was going to start to rain. He had to get home. And I said, people always ask me, what would you do if you saw Billy? And I said, I would just hug him and say, I love you, Billy. And before he got on his motorcycle, he put on his helmet, and I just put my arms around him and I said, I love you, Billy. And he looked at me and said, I love you too, Lib. And he got on his motorcycle and rode off. Yeah.
Can you ever see an opportunity where the two of you would get back together, maybe play a little bit together again?
It's in his ballpark. I would do it, But, he's got to want to do it. I don't know if he's done playing or how he feels about playing anymore, going out live.
Liberty, the game of golf and this show has allowed me to meet so many of my heroes. I have to imagine that you've had a million times greater opportunities to meet the people that were your heroes, whether it was when you were growing up or just people that you admire that do the same thing as you, other singers, other drummers. Talk about some of the incredible people that you've had an opportunity to get to know.
Oh, well, Paul McCartney's got to be at the top of the list. Ringo Starr is definitely one of them. When I said to him, I said, Ringo, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And he said, well, at least you're not blaming me for it. Meeting people after they've seen me play, they come to shows, like Sting walked up to me and said, you're a really great drummer. Ann Wilson shook my hand. She's from Heart. She shook my hand and said, you move me, and
wow.
just stuff like that, Eric Clapton was in the same hotel as us in Australia, and I got up to get something in the room, and I said, you want anything, Eric? And he said, yeah, can you give me some toast? And I burned it really badly and gave it to him. He's like, oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Liberty, just a couple more before I let you go. You wrote a children's book titled Love, Santa Claus. What inspired you to do that?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to just think about, like, what is it like to write a children's book? And so I started to write this book. I have a 9-year-old, and I thought it would be nice to write a Christmas book, because Christmas books are the gifts that keep on giving. Because every year Christmas comes around, and it's like, okay, you could sell the book again. It seemed to do well. People really like it because it talks about how Santa got his job. You have to, whether you're a believer or not a believer, you have to talk about the man who got Santa his job. And at the end of the book, he falls to his knees and he just thanks Jesus for his job because he loves it.
Yeah, that's awesome. My next guest, Matthew Lawrence.
Matthew.
He says that he's your idol. So tell me about your relationship with Matthew.
Matthew is my idol. Let me tell you something. But if he compliments my wife one more time, I just might have to hit him with a golf club. With a golf club. No, I love Matthew. We met at this I guess it's a thing where people come and meet the people from movies and who plays on records and stuff like that. It was like a Chiller Theater thing because I remember Zachary? Do you remember him?
No.
He was like, do you know Svengoolie now?
Yeah.
Like one of those guys.
Okay.
But he was more authentic. He really looked like a zombie. And he had a wife that was a single cell amoeba that he electric prods on. Anyway, so it was one of those festivals, and Zachary was there, and that's where I met Matthew, and he was there for the movie that he was in, Eddie. What was it,
Eddie and the Cruisers?
Yes, Eddie and the Cruisers, and we hung out, like for a few days, and the relationship really, really held because, I haven't seen him since then, but we talk all the time and he calls me for my birthday. I call him, and it's great. He calls my wife and sings to her.
Beware of the man who sings to your wife.
No kidding. He's such a wonderful, wonderful person. He lives way down there in Kentucky or something like that.
That's right. Lexington.
Yeah, and I think he keeps threatening to come up. And I said, come on up. The pizza's on me. Because he's originally from here.
Right. You would think he would get on a plane once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
Right?
Get him whatever he wants.
Liberty, before I let you go, let everybody know, how can they come see you now, get a copy of your book, and stay up to date with you on social media?
Well, like you said, the book is on Amazon. And you could hear me on that other thing. What was it called?
Audible.
Thank you. And the Lords of 52nd Street. We have a Facebook page, and we post where we're playing. and the Slim Kings. You can listen to us on Spotify and all those places where you can hear music.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
At Liberty, you are such a treat. I enjoyed every single time that I've had an opportunity to spend some time with you. I hope I get this privilege with you again before too long.
Yes. Well, if you hear we're playing closely, notify me and come see us.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you so much for that.
All right.
Liberty, you're fantastic, my friend. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks.
See you, Liberty.
Bye.
That is the great Liberty DeVitto, folks. Don't come any better than that guy. I mean, for crying out loud. The guy brings so much passion and excitement and enthusiasm to his playing. And if you haven't gone out and watched, and I know it's been a while, but if you go back and watch the Millennium concert that he did when he was a part of Billy Joel's band, and you watch some live at Yankee Stadium and those concerts, I mean sincerely what I said, I look right at him when it's about to get started, because from the downbeat of Big Shot to all the way through the end, I mean, the guy has so much energy going through his hands and his arms and his fingers and the way that he plays. And, he's kind of like he's a banger in my mind, a guy that just is so into what he's playing. It just makes the experience that much better. I mean, Billy's great. There's no question about the greatness of that man and the music. But when you're watching for the enthusiasm that is what it must be like to perform on stage, I mean, look, we've all projected to be one of those guys, right? I mean, he talks about how, sports guys want to be musicians and musicians want to be sports guys. I mean, we've all dreamt of what it must be like to be in a band like that and being on a stage the size of Yankee Stadium or in Madison Square Garden or what have you. But when you see it through what I believe to be Liberty's eyes for what he must be experiencing, how much fun he's having, that just kind of oozes out, right? And we talk about it here on this show, about how enthusiasm comes through the microphone, it comes through the speakers, it oozes from the guest, and how that makes you feel when you're listening and the enjoyment of the show. I mean, that's just what Liberty brings to every concert and every song that he is a part of. I highly encourage you to go check out the Lords of 50's Second String or the Slim Kings, and go check out his book. And certainly read it if you're into reading. But from an audio perspective, to listen to Liberty tell the story, it just like takes this interview and then expounds it tenfold. So you really get to understand it from his point of view, not just from reading the words, but by hearing it through his voice and his emotions. It's absolutely outstanding. One of my favorite listens ever. Like I said, very privileged to have him as part of the show, and I hope I get the privilege of having him back on the show again before too long. As you've heard, coming up next in segment number 2 is one of my wonderful friends, a guy who is a tremendous actor and has a great show of his own, Backspin Golf, and that is Matthew Lawrence. Before I unmute his mic, let me remind you about the great things going on up at Macklemore, because this year, get ready to experience a game like never before at the Keep, the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course at Macklemore. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round here is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore. The Keep is open and it's waiting for you. And folks, if you haven't tried 2-under yet, you really need to. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2-under's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2-under. That's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. All right, like we mentioned a moment ago, now back in Next on the Tee with me is one of my all-time favorite actors, radio hosts, and people on the planet for that matter, and that is Matthew Lawrence. This is the 26th time that Matthew has been a part of the show, so you know that he is the host of Backspin Golf, which is fantastic and the best way to start your Sunday mornings. You can listen to it starting at 8:03 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Radio, WLXG in Lexington, Kentucky. You can stream it online at WLXG.com. He also has a daily show that you can tune into from 10 a.m. to noon called The Matthew and Jimmy Show. Back in 2020, Matthew was recognized by the Kentucky section of the PGA of America as their Media Representative of the Year. Among Matthew's other great works on the big screen, like we talk about, right, his stellar performance as bass player Sal Amato, one of my all-time favorite movies, Eddie and the Cruisers. You've probably also seen him on Saturday Night Live, Beverly Hills 90210, One Tree Hill, 30-something. He has been all over the movie screen and the TV screen. He's also been a sideline reporter and a pre- and post-game host for Duke and now Kentucky basketball. And like I say, each and every time that I have the privilege of having him on the show, as far as stars go, they don't come bigger or better than Matthew Lawrence. Hey, Matthew, how are you, my friend?
Wait, were you talking about me?
You know I was.
First of all, my 26th time.
Yes. We should have had something for the 25th time, right? I should have gotten you a silver something or other.
That was my first thought. Well, you should have gotten me anything, a box of cookies, something. I mean, that's a lot of time. You sound like me. I always say I'll get you a Rolex from the trunk of a car on Madison Avenue in New York. Something.
Yeah, well, I think Liberty's waiting for you to give him something. He's inviting you up there. You always say you're going to show up and then nothing. What's up with that?
I'll tell you. First of all, I don't say I'm going to show up because it's hard for me to get up there now. I got a lot of stuff going on, Chris. I'm a very busy guy. I'm just saying.
Always are.
And I want to address this right away.
Uh-oh.
You know, when he said the thing he did about Anna and his wife.
Yep.
I want to tell you, from the first time I ever saw or spoke with Anna, I told Liberty that I loved her. There was never a hidden agenda ever.
You were upfront with it?
I was totally transparent about my feelings for her, and he knows that. And he knows one of the reasons he hopes I don't show up there is because if that happens, oh, she's gone. She is gone, along with May, their incredible 9-year-old daughter. I mean, it's over. He knows that. So he's a big shot talking to you, but
he doesn't really mean about it. He doesn't mean it for you coming up there.
No, he doesn't want me anywhere near there. Trust me. Unless Anna's out of town, then it'll be okay, and he'll get the pizza. He's a big shot. You know, Chris, since we started here, he mentioned that we met it was indeed like the Comic-Cons and those things that happen. It was a Chiller Theater one. I still have no idea why I was there, because I have a picture with some vampire guy there that always makes me laugh. But Liberty was there, and we ended up having dinner the first night. We were there 3 days. And a bunch of us got together, and we had dinner together. And then the next 2 days, it was like we were BFFs. And that's the only 3 days we've spent together. And this was a few years ago. But as he said, we talk, and he's just one of my favorite people in the world. And the fact that I can watch his videos, you know what music means to me. I can watch his videos, not only with Billy and all the years with Billy, but now with the Lords of Flatbush and the Lords of Flatbush. I'm not a movie guy, am I? The Lords of 52nd Street. And he's an amazing, amazing guy.
Yes.
I love him so much.
Yeah. The passion that he has in his voice and for his music is just something that, when you watch him, it just comes right through, and you just kind of get swept away in it along with him. I think he's amazing.
I love that I got to hear a little bit of the end of your conversation with him as I was waiting to come in. And, when he says things like Ann Wilson said, "You moved me," that's for somebody like Ann Wilson to say that, and you're a drummer, that's pretty telling.
No kidding.
Yeah, amazing.
Long ago, we established that you're the greatest air guitar player of all time.
Correct.
Where are you on the air drums?
By the way, second place is nowhere close.
Can't even see you from where they are?
No, I'm so far ahead of that Now, I'm sorry, what was the question?
So where are you on the air drum?
Oh, let's see. I'll say I'm the second best air drummer in the
you would
world.
concede to be second best.
I don't know who's first, but I don't want to be presumptuous. I'll put it that way. I do. I'm very humble, as
Clearly.
You know that better than anybody from all the time we've spent. But I'm a pretty great air drummer too.
So along the lines of what Liberty was saying about athletes wanting to be musicians and musicians wanting to be athletes, do you ever Jones? Obviously you had an opportunity to kind of live in that world during Eddie and the Cruisers, but were you ever jonesing to get up on stage and be a guy, like be in a band like Liberty is, and get to experience what it's like? You're a great actor and all that sort of thing, but do you ever want to be a musician and be on the big stage?
I think that statement that you made is it's the same thing as saying athletes want to be actors and actors want to be athletes. I think the same thing applies for the world of music. I can't, this, we've talked about it. I got to do that in my life, even though there were cameras there and, the director would yell cut, even though it was as close as you could get to actually being a rock star. I mean, the extras in the movie scenes at the college and all of it, even though you knew you were acting in a movie, it's hard to explain, Chris. It really is. It's as close as anybody could get to without really doing it. And that's something that I will always have. I mean, it was, 40 years ago. Longer, actually, maybe 42 or 3 years ago now. And like it was yesterday, if I close my eyes, I'm up on that stage with everybody again.
Yeah, so when you were up on that stage in that college scene, I mean, obviously everybody's an actor or an extra or whatever, and they're paid to go crazy and all that sort of stuff. But I imagine you can get lost in that. When the music's playing and you're up there and you're lip syncing and you're playing the bass and, Michael Burry's up there singing. I mean, it's got to feel like it's real. At some point you close your eyes and you are doing it.
1,000%. 1,000%. Especially, I think we've talked about everything on this show, so I assume we have. But for people listening that don't know, when you shoot a movie, you do the first shot usually that you do is called the master. I'm showing you with my hands, Chris. It's called the master. And that is with everybody, say, on the stage playing a song. And you will do the whole song. And then you will move the cameras and do close-ups of each person. And those kind of shots and different angles you only might get to do 20 seconds, and then the director will cut and go to another angle. But the master, you usually get to do the whole thing. And that's when it really got to you. I mean, and looking out, I know, like you say, they were extras in the scenes at the college, for example. But believe me, you know how that music has stood up over all these decades. When that music was playing, they were into it, really into it. And that's something I'll never forget, ever.
You were really good friends with Michael Tunes, who was the sax player in the John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But did you ever have an opportunity? Did you ever get to go see the band? Did you ever go get to see Tunes play and like, hey, I can get up there too?
No, I never thought I could get up there and do it. Although I have to say, if I had dedicated myself that way, I really think I could have done it. I loved playing the bass. I learned how to play the bass for the movie. But I never got a chance to see Tunes and the band.
Really?
Amazingly enough, I never saw Beaver Brown. after we did that movie for different reasons. I mean, either I was living in LA and they were nowhere near LA, or, a lot of times it was just where I was and where they were. But I never got it. And it's something, it's amazing. It's not surprising you bring something up because you're great at what you do. But, yeah, thanks for getting me choked up like you always do at least one time on every one of our talks. Toons was one of the more amazing human beings to ever walk this planet, ever. We were all pretty young when we did that movie. I want to say, we were early 30s. And Toons was already, I can't remember how many kids he had. He was, when he passed away, I'm not sure, but I want to say 85, and with great grandchildren and still rocking all the time. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I have a friend who used to be, he's not anymore, but he worked with the PGA Tour, named TJ O'Clair. And he lives in Rhode Island. And we got to be very friendly. I would have him, I met him through Backspin Golf, and we got to be very friendly. And anyway, one day I was talking to him on the phone. He called me, and I answered the phone, and he said, oh boy, I'm going to lose it. He said, hold on, there's somebody that wants to say hello to you. And he handed the phone to Toons. And Toons was a member at TJ's golf club.
Wow.
And they were standing on the driving range together.
Wow.
I mean, I lost it. And this was, I don't know, I can't say exactly how many years ago, a few years ago. And we talked, and then we had several conversations because then I had his phone number and I knew where he was. Those guys were all from Rhode Island, and they all, had roots there. And Toons went back there, and he was living in outside of Providence, and just amazing. He was really something.
Let's take the theme of that, because there are so many people in your life, and I'm certainly one of them, not only that are big fans of yours, but
yes, you are one of the people in my life. Yes, that's true.
But we have never met in person. You didn't see Toons for all those years. You
Hard
talked
to
about
believe.
so many people that have become integral with you over the game of golf or over a radio show or a podcast. But so many people that you've become close to, and I have too, that we have never actually met in person.
It is staggering when you think about it. And I know you too. I mean, how long you've been doing the show, and at such a level, it's staggering the number of people who are so important to me in my life that I have never met. All because, and thank goodness, years and years ago, because I'm a lot older than you, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. We didn't have computers. And I'm not saying this to whine. I'm just saying now, thankfully, even though a lot of these people, we've never physically been in the same room, we can FaceTime or just talk on the cell phone. I mean, even that wasn't possible years ago, but you're 1,000% right. If I made a list of the people, excuse me, that are most important to me in my life, there would be a lot of those people on that list that I have never met. It's amazing.
Yes, it is. Let's switch gears a little bit. We got to talk a little golf.
Okay, I can do that, I think.
I think you can. We got the U.S. Open coming up, not that far from where you're from. It's going to be up at Shinnecock there on Long Island. Did you ever get an opportunity to go over to Shinnecock while you were there?
I've never played it. I had one time I was in the Hamptons because, I'm a big shot, and I got to go out to the Hamptons one time. And it was before I played golf. I didn't start playing till I was 31 when I moved to LA. But actually, it was right after I started playing golf. And I went out to the Hamptons for a few days one summer, and a friend of mine said, it's only about 6 or 7 miles from the Hamptons. He said, let's go have lunch. There's a place we can go have lunch. We can't play golf. I said, I just started playing. I don't care. And we had lunch there because he knew one of the waiters or something. I'm not even sure you could have lunch there if you weren't a member there. But so I actually did see it. We walked, I think, as I remember, the first hole, and then turned around and walked back. And I said, okay, this is great. Let's go back to the Hamptons. That's okay. I drove right through the town of St. Andrews, Scotland, without even stopping.
No, you did not.
Oh, I did, my friend. Yes,
Holy
I did.
Cow. How is that possible?
Well, real quickly, I'll tell you how it's possible. The summer between my junior and senior year in college, my roommate and I, Mark Berenberg, and I went to Europe. And we drove all through France, and we drove through Spain, and we went to London, and we got in the car, and we drove we wanted to go to Edinburgh. And we drove all the way up there, and we were driving around in Scotland, and we were hungry. And you didn't have GPS or anything like that. You had a map. And I pulled out the map, and I looked at it, and I said, we're coming up pretty soon to this town. It doesn't look like a big city or anything. It's called St. Andrews. We could stop for lunch there. And we drove right through it because we couldn't even look and see a place where we could have lunch. So we just drove right through it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. And to this day, I have never seen St. Andrews since then.
Oh, you don't deserve to see it now.
I've seen a lot of other places and played golf at a lot of other places, but St. Andrews is not one of them. So, it makes sense that I didn't do anything at Shinnecock either. That's how I look at it.
All right. So with another major being up there on Long Island and just down the street from Bethpage, and we know what happened last year at the Ryder Cup and Rory and the whole thing. What do you think we're going to see a repeat of the same thing? Is Rory going to get picked on? Because it seems like it's become a thing with Rory. He got heckled at the PGA Championship for crying out loud.
Horrible. And I think, this is not a political statement, but I think so much of this, and it's not only in New York that it's happening, but it's happening a lot there because, as you know, and I'm a New Yorker, we can get kind of vocal at times. 30 years ago. Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. But so much of society today, this has become almost normalized with people, anger and hatred and yelling stuff. And it's a societal problem. And so you could have 30,000 people on the golf course. And if you look at what happened at, any tournament. If you at the Memorial last week, there were how many people there? And there were, I don't know, 5 guys yelling stuff like mashed potatoes.
And, don't you hate that?
And get in the hole after somebody hits a shot on a par 5, all those. And so it doesn't take much. And it wouldn't surprise me at all. I hope I'm wrong. And I really hope that there is none of that at this U.S. Open at Shinnecock. Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, I just hate it.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back, and Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit SundaySwagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, SundaySwagger.com. All right, now back to more of the show. Matthew, closer to home, and I want to get your perspective on this because I know you're really close to it, but a couple of years ago, we lost the Barbasol Championship, which was played near you at Keene Trace in Lexington. It's opposite the Open, but after Barbasol had backed out of being a sponsor, ISCO took over that sponsorship. They are home-based in Louisville, so now the tournament is played there. I hate that Lexington Park and Rec lost that tournament, but I know you are more closely aligned to what's happening. What went on? Because I hate that you guys lost it.
I do too, but, I actually just had Jimmy Kirchdorfer on my show. Who is a wonderful guy. He's one of the 4 owners of Valhalla and the chairman and CEO of ISCO, which is an amazing company. And I don't know enough about this stuff to understand, but ISCO took over the sponsorship of the golf tournament. So this was a company decision. And it could have come from Barbasol too. I'm not sure. But 2 years ago, we played it at Keene Trace, but it was called the ISCO then. And last year they moved to Hurstbourne Country Club outside Louisville. And it's now the ISCO Championship. And, it's only 80 miles away. I hate that we don't have it here in Lexington because I did my daily show every day of that week from Keene Trace, and those people are all friends of mine. But I'm glad we still have it in the state because it's a really important tournament. There's only, I think, 35 PGA tournaments, and that it's in central Kentucky like it is. It's also an event that is now, for the last couple of years, also part of the DP World Tour concurrently. And it's I forget what it's called. I'm losing my mind now. An opposite field event now. But so if you win, you don't get invited to the Masters, but you do get a 2-year exemption on tour. You get FedEx Cup points, all of those other things. And you get to play in the PGA Championship. So it's a big deal, and I'm just glad it's still here in central Kentucky.
Matthew, not all that long ago, when you and I were communicating off air, you were telling me about something that you and Brian Austin Green, who played your son in Beverly Hills 90210, you guys were discussing doing something for somebody that I thought was an incredible story for a young lady that I think Brian had known for a really long time, that you have known as well. Can you tell that story?
I have a dear friend whose mom is part of a family. I'm divorced, so I'm not part of their family anymore, although I'm still friendly with some of them. But this woman's mom, Belinda, is a very close friend of mine. And her name is Sarah, and she's in her mid-30s now. And she has had learning difficulties and all kinds of things going on in her life. And she has always been the biggest 90210 fan, always. And it was her birthday, and so Brian and I have been texting back and forth every once in a while and talking on the phone. And I called Brian. I said, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to shoot a video. And I explained to him about Sarah. I said, and send it to me, and I'm going to see her on her birthday. and I'm going to play this video for her and send it to her. And he sent this incredible video to Sarah, and it just it not only did she go nuts, but, well, as you can already tell, I lost it. Watching her watch this video, it was really a great thing. I love that guy. I always have.
All right, let's switch gears one more time, just a couple more. How excited are you and the whole city of New York going to be if the Knicks go on and win this NBA championship?
Oh, I don't know. I'll be a little excited.
Will you?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's funny. Can we say when we're doing this show?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah. Go right ahead. Monday,
Okay.
June 8th.
Okay. And I'll tell you, by the way, I'll say this. Today is my mom's birthday, who we lost, I think, 5 years ago now. So shout out to Betty Boop, because she was a huge Knicks fan too. We are talking. If you want to know how much I love you, you want to know what's going on right now as we speak?
Game 3?
Game 3. That's right.
And here you are.
Well, I mean, I'm recording it, of course, but I when you first asked me if I would be available to do this, I wasn't thinking. Otherwise, I would have said, "Are you out of your bleeping mind?" Because I'm from New York, and I got to drop F-bombs every chance I get.
But in your life, me or the Knicks? I mean, come on, let's be serious now.
Yeah, good point. Okay. I'll just say this. I remember, and Mitchie, my twin brother, remembers, going to the old Madison Square Garden on 48th Street, way before the Garden is where it is now, which is above Penn Station down there. I've been a Knicks fan since the 50s, because I'm really old. And if you want to talk to me about 1969 and 1973 and what it was like to be a Knicks fan when they won championships, we haven't won one since 1973. And to see what's happened with this team, and even more than the actual sports part of it, I saw a video today. I think maybe a lot of your listeners might know who Fat Joe is. He's incredibly popular guy now with social media and all kinds of things. Anyway, I saw a video, and he's the biggest Knick fan in the world. He grew up around the corner from the Garden, I think. He talked about this. I saw a video today of Hasidic Jews in New York City break dancing with black guys, all in Knicks jerseys, getting ready for the game tonight. And Fat Joe said something that really got to me. He said, this city, and I hope people understand what he's saying, this city has not been this unified since September 11th, which thankfully this is something happy. It's not obviously the most tragic thing in that city. But what it has done to bring everybody in that city together at a time when, as I said, in society, there's so much divisiveness, and it is staggering. And do I want the Knicks to win the championship as a fan? Yeah, I do. But I think almost as much I want it for the city of New York. That's really how I feel. And let me say this. I love the Spurs. I love that team. I love Wembanyama. I've been a Greg Popovich fan.
Yeah, you're a big Pop fan.
I mean, for ever since he started and I knew about him. I loved that team. And if they weren't playing the Knicks, I'd be rooting so hard for them. But of course, I hope they win. I can't wait to see what happens, and I hope they don't get complacent because they were up 2-0. Because we all know things can happen. But just what it's been to this point, to win this many games in a row in the postseason is insane, and I love the chemistry of this team, all of them. It's just been amazing.
I guess as an outsider, not being a New Yorker or New York fan, why is it such a unifying event? I mean, it's not like the city of New York has just been so starved of a championship. I know the Yankees haven't won one since '09, but you've seen the Yankees, the Mets, the Giants. There's been winning. I mean, it's been a minute, but this seems different for some reason.
It is very different. This ultimately, what it comes down to, yes, there are Yankee fans. Yes, there are Met fans. Yes, there were Ranger fans in 1994. Although I will say, that was pretty close to what's going on in the city now, although not nearly, because there aren't nearly as many hockey fans as there are NBA fans. But this is different than the Yankees or the Mets or the Giants, who, by the way, play in New Jersey. I don't know if you realize that.
It says New York. It says New York right there on the helmet.
I know. Don't get me started on that. It's just different. This city, for generations, have been Knicks fans. And for a city like that to not have seen a championship since 1973 is mind-numbing. It is absolutely mind-numbing. And again, I won't get into a lot. A lot of it has to do with ownership, and there's all kinds of things going on with that. But what this team has done is just, it's kind of miraculous to me. I know I didn't expect it. I knew they were really good, but I didn't expect this level in the postseason of what they've done, and I hope they can do it for 2 more games.
Matthew, before I let you go, remind our listeners again how they can listen to your shows, plus follow you on social media as well.
Social media, it is at Real, REAL, Lauro, LAURO, and the number 5. Lauro is the name I've been given by my Irish friends, and this is true.
That right?
Yes, who they call me Lauro because that's kind of a soccer thing, or football, as real soccer fans call it, like me. Real Lauro and the number 5. I am on every day on Wildcat Drive, on WLXG.com, or at ESPN Radio Lex on social media. And of course, Backspin Golf every Sunday morning at 8:03 a.m. Also, WLXG.com and at ESPN Radio Lex.
You're the best, my friend. 26 times. I couldn't be more honored to say that number.
Wow.
And on top of that, I love you. You're one of the great people on this planet, and one of my favorite people ever.
Right back at you, pal. Same thing. That's how I feel. All right, I got to go watch a game.
Yeah, go watch a game. Good luck.
See ya.
See you, brother. That is Matthew Lawrence, just one of the great people you get to meet in this life. When you get to meet your heroes, right? Look, I'm as you guys know, Eddie and the Cruisers, top 5 movie all time for me. I loved it. I loved Matthew since I saw him play Salamato, and the first time I think most of us who love Eddie and the Cruisers saw Eddie and the Cruisers, it was back in the mid '80s. It was on HBO because it was only in the theaters for a minute, and then it became a huge thing once it got onto HBO and the soundtrack started playing and the radios picked it up, and the next thing you know, it's a cult favorite. And Matthew's been a hero of mine ever since. And like I say, the blessing of this show is that sometimes you get to meet your heroes. And he is certainly one of them. And now I would say he's one of my best friends. And like he said, we've never seen each other in person. We've seen each other on video. but we've never been in one another's presence, but we talk. And he is just one of the great people, like I said, you get to meet in this life, and I just love him very much. He means a great deal to me. So be sure to check him out. At RealLaro5 is where you can follow him on social media, WLXG.com/backspin golf, 8:03 a.m. Eastern Time, Sunday mornings, the Matthew and Jimmy show from 10 a.m. to noon. We'll get number 27 here before too long. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this special bonus edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out again to Liberty DeVitto and Matthew Lawrence for joining me. Scheduled to join me next time are our resident director of instruction, Tom Patry, will be back. Jack Conger, who is an instructor at the Links at Erie Village, will be making his next On the Tee debut. Plus, we'll get a return visit from our good friend Joe Groman, who is a PGA professional down in Florida at Hobie Sounds, Florida to be exact. So the next show is going to be an awful lot about golf instruction and tips that we'll have coming your way. If there's something that you want me to ask those guys on your behalf, please reach out to me on social media at CT Mascaro. Give me a question. Give me send me a message. Go to nextonthetee.net, which is the show's landing page. You can submit a question in there through the Contact Us form. I'd love to get your question answered live here on the show by any one of those three guys or all three of them. We'll see. We'll put them all to the test if you want. So let me know. I want to thank our friends again at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners and hosting this show on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find the show by clicking on the Sports Section tab, and right there on the homepage of the Sports Section is the most recent episode. Or you can type in podcast.triblive.com, then click on Next on the Tee, and many of the most recent episodes from this season are available for you there as well. And as you guys know, you can find the show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, golfnewsnet.com. If you've got a favorite podcast site, we're probably on that one too. Just type in Next on the Tee in the search bar. You'll probably find us there as well. But as I say every week, folks, biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, bar none. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.